It's here, everyone. As you can see behind me, the flurries are coming down. What is soon to be up to 10 inches of snow here in central Virginia, where I'm located. The question we all have, though, is what's coming with it? This is a question that we've had all winter since we began seeing drones, mysterious, unexplainable drones, orbs, UFOs, UAPs since last fall, starting in New Jersey, since all along the eastern seaboard, around the United States, and all over the world. So I'm going to bring you an actual news story that I saw this morning when I woke up, as well as several emails that came to us overnight from you folks who are as concerned as me. This first article comes from Yahoo by way of NBC News. Here's the headline: CDC confirms Nevada dairy worker infected with different Kakakahachu strain. Now again, if you're new to the channel, we're using code because the CDC and the Department of HHS, Health and Human Services, have both been directly ordered by the President of the United States not to talk about this. So I have every reason to believe that very soon, if not already, they will begin censoring and removing any social media content that uses the term, hence our term, Kakakahachu. Let me get to this. The article reads, and this is direct quotes. I'm giving credit to the creators of the copywritten material, and I'm also stating this word for word to show I am not making this up. Okay? Quote, "The patient who'd been working with sick cows was found to have a strain of Kakakahachu called D1.1, which has long been circulating in wild birds." Keep this in mind because there's another article that was brought to my attention by one of our faithful followers that relates to this. All right, it's different from the strain of the virus that caused the majority of human infections in the U.S. called B3.13. D1.1 has a mutation that could make the virus spread more easily in mammals. So this is a specific strain of Kakakahachu, which seems to be able to latch onto mammals. Keep that in mind. What are we? We ain't nothing but mammals. That's why I want to remember 9 Inch Nails from the 90s. All right, just had to get that in there. Continuing. The virus has wreaked havoc on poultry farms. Millions of chickens have been culled, continuing the skyrocketing prices and shortages of eggs. The dairy worker in Nevada, his only symptoms, or hers, didn't say, was pink eye, and the individual has recovered, the CDC says. None of the person's close contacts have become ill, the Central Nevada Health District said. Now, pay attention, because it sounds harmless, right? Like the Nevada patient, nearly all people infected with Kakakahachu over the past year have had mild symptoms, no matter which type they had. Sounds harmless, right? Key sentence. One person in Louisiana who had died of the D1.1 strain, this is the one we're talking about now, this one that seems to be able to mutate and latch onto mammals, one person died last month. Listen, the individual who died was over 65 years old and had underlying health problems. Sound familiar? They got sick in December after coming into contact with a backyard flock of wild birds. So if you've been following the channel, you know that just within the last week, ironically, the day I began being followed by Professor Fancy Shoes, I mentioned the three main targeted groups of people that they are trying to call. One of which, and the largest being, people who are over 65 and have underlying health conditions, because those folks, face it, financially are a burden on the system. So what better way for the elites, what better way for the haves to eliminate the have-nots in that demographic? And what better way than by, could it be geoengineering? Is it manipulation of the weather? Is it spraying this fog, this nasty, treacherous fog that smells like burning chemicals that often accompanies weather events now and often follows sightings of drones, UAPs, and UFOs? Is there a connection? Well, we seem to be connecting the dots. Continuing with this one to finish it up, the CDC maintains that Kakakahachu risk to the general public is low and that there's no evidence that the virus is spreading from person to person. But now's the time for scientists and public health officials to prepare for that to change, says Osterholm, an infectious disease expert. But yet now's the time when the people in charge say no one's allowed to talk about this. Go figure. Final sentence, and this is a quote from infectious disease expert Osterholm. We're going to have another influenza pandemic, and when it happens, we shouldn't be surprised, he said. Quote, but will it be H5, kakakahachu, or not? I don't know. All right. And then to follow that up briefly, I got an email from Ken, who directed my attention to another Yahoo article that came by way of BBC. The article was titled Dead Birds Flying. I read the article. It was quite lengthy. It took about 10 minutes. And the gist of it was this. Back in 2023, they found 1,800 dead elephant seal pups on the beaches of Argentina. These are baby seals. I remember when I was a kid in the 80s, that was a protected species because people were violently clubbing them to death for their hides and their skins, and they became protected species. 1,800 dead in Argentina in 2023. They went down there, guess what they found? Kakakahachu. Now, here's why the article was called Dead Birds Flying. Researchers have found, and that same gentleman, Osterholm, whatever, big name, starts with an O, they found that the way that the kakakahachu, the virus that attaches to mammals that got these seal pups, travels is by latching onto certain migratory wild bird species who have the ability to fly far enough to get into contact with another wild bird species that they ordinarily would have no contact with. Pass the virus on to that species and then perish. That's why it's called Dead Birds Flying. So it's like, and it says it in the article, it's like a relay race. Think of track and field. You go as far and as fast as you can, then you pass off the baton to your teammate. Like the Pony Express, if you can remember that back in the old days. That Pony Express only lasted about 18 months at most. Most folks don't realize that, but you'd run a horse as hard and fast as you could till you got to the next mail courier, pass off the package. Wow, here we are. Folks, I went through puberty like 40, 50 years ago. I should not have my voice cracking. I've been out here for about 10 minutes, and already I'm starting to feel the effects of something in this snow. So not to rush it. We've got to get this message out, and we're going to be monitoring this closely throughout this entire storm, okay? This one comes from Jennifer in Sebastian, Florida. Jennifer Kolinek, and I was just in Florida. My family and I went down to Key West. We were down there for approximately 2 weeks. It was a 13-day trip. And it wasn't just for the snorkeling and the parasailing and the boat riding and the clubbing and all that stuff. It was to get our eyes at what I believe is ground zero, Florida. Why? Because that's where the largest demographic is spending this time of year. Folks over 65, underlying health conditions, and folks, we watched it. My wife and I would sit on the street. Our son, he'd be somewhere doing something, or he'd be with us. We would watch people. About half, and 90% of them were 65 or older. They were boomers. Half of them, you could tell, were fit. They were as fit as fiddles. They could probably outrun me in a foot race, and I actually exercise daily. They seemed to be fine. The other half, I don't know how they were moving. They seemed to struggle getting in and out of chairs. They were morbidly obese. You could tell they were in the Walmart scooters going around. Where better to spray if you're trying to call the part of the herd that's going to be the largest financial strain on the system? So Florida, in my opinion, is ground zero. So here's a story from Jennifer from Florida. Hi, Kevin. We've had crazy chemtrails in Sebastian, Florida for the past 3 weeks, and the fog followed. My German Shepherd went out in the yard to do her business and was outside for about 30 to 45 minutes. My other dog started to go outside too, sniffed the air, and then ran back inside. Folks, listen to your dogs, okay? Jennifer continues. Later that evening, I noticed my German Shepherd was scratching heavily. I went to check her out, and her skin was red and inflamed, and I noticed raised red bumps. I started giving her natural supplements to help with itching. It helped the itching subside a bit. Thank goodness. I felt so bad for her. My dogs and I went to bed, and upon waking up, I noticed that my German Shepherd's fur was falling out in clumps. All I could do was give her supplements. I also want to let you know that I had limited time outside, and I had a severe headache and raised red bumps like my German Shepherd has. It's so obvious we are being called. The global cabal is trying to call at us on all fronts. I have been a subscriber of your channel for years. I love your channel and content. You have a beautiful family. I pray for your family that the Lord bless and protect you all from anything nefarious. We are living in cray-cray times. We, you and your family must keep our heads on a swivel at all times. You have my permission to read and use my name. I am also attaching pictures of my dog that shows her skin and fur after being outside in the fog. God bless you and your family. Head on a swivel. Jennifer Kulinek, Sebastian, Florida. Thank you, Jennifer. FYI, I viewed the images. That dog, I didn't want to share the pictures with you because I know that most of you on here are dog animals and animal lovers. I didn't want to do that to you. Folks, if you have a story that you'd like to share, you can email it to the channel. The email address is crazylake@mail.com. You must give us permission to share your story if you want it shared, and you can remain anonymous. If you don't want us to use your name, let us know that. We'll keep you anonymous, or give us permission to use your name like Jennifer Kulinek and Sebastian, Florida did, and we will. All right, so here's an email from Lori Lee. Just passed through your neck of the woods too, down in North Carolina. Let me tell you, from mostly northern Georgia up through, or northern Florida through southern Georgia, it literally looked like they were making chessboards and checkerboards in the sky. And it wasn't much less than that through the Carolinas, okay? They were just being less artsy-fartsy. Lori Lee writes, I've been a subscriber of yours for about 3 months, and I too have noticed a lot of stuff going on that doesn't make any sense when compared to the narrative we've been force-fed. I live in the Appalachian Mountains of North Carolina, and when I was watching your video, you read a story from Frankie, who lives in North Carolina, and heard a rocket sound. Now, folks, this is something that was brought to my attention by a high-ranking, top clearance official with one of the government agencies that's no longer allowed to talk about anything. He asked if any of our viewers had made any comments about hearing what sounds like a rocket ship taking off or getting ready to start off for liftoff that lasts for just a few seconds and then just disappears. Okay? Keep listening. Okay? Lori Lee continues, I heard it too. I live on a mountain all by myself and hear very little sky sounds beyond the local power company cutting tree limbs with a helicopter. In fact, sky sounds are so rare that I usually find myself running outside to see what is going on. I was within 15 feet of the back door when I too heard something that sounded like a rocket. It was so loud that I felt like I could feel it in my chest as it went over. I ran to the back door and onto my back deck. I looked up. Nothing. In fact, by the time I ran the 15 feet to the back door, it was gone like it had never been there. This is exactly what my high-ranking, top clearance friend, contact within a certain government agency was asking me if people were reporting. This is the second one in 2 days just out of North Carolina. She continues. Now, I am no rocket scientist, but even I know we, as far as we're told, don't have aircraft that goes that fast. It was gone in less than 3 seconds. I've lived here for 5 years and I've never heard that before or since. In fact, I've never heard that before anywhere. Thanks for reading this and keep up the good work. We witnesses need some validation. Lori Lee from the Blue Ridge Mountains of southwestern North Carolina. Wow. Now, folks, listen, I'm going to share another email with you, and then I'm going to get inside, and I'm going to monitor this storm. I'm going to be scathing the internet, and I'm going to be paying attention to what's going on outside. But this is proof that, listen, there is no story too strange for us if you want to send it in. And with that said, I do want to point out that, again, our video today is being brought to you in part by my novel, From the Graves of Babes. I've been mentioning this the last couple of days that if you get it from our Etsy store, the link of which is in the description box below, I will write you a little personal note on the back that we've intentionally kept free of the description of the book and personally autograph it for you. And if you're a member of the channel, point it out, and you also get a free copy of my romance novel, The Box. Quickly, in 30 seconds or less, this is an awesome ghost story about a man who loses his daughter. She goes missing. She's never found. It wrecks his marriage. He takes to drinking. He ends up going to stay in a cabin on top of a mountain in Appalachia, the woods of West Virginia, where he and his father used to hunt before his father had died. And he's trying not to drink himself to death while trying to regain his sanity when he begins receiving visits from little girls that nobody seems to know even exist. Well, it turns out they're ghosts being tormented by their killer even in the afterlife. So now the guy's got to reconcile with the loss of his daughter and trying to figure out how to save these girls who are being tormented in the afterlife by their oppressor, who is also in the afterlife with them. A murderous, serial killing ghost. The novel spent 6 months as Amazon's #1 rated ghost novel and customer satisfaction in the year of its release, only to be beaten come Christmas time out of the #1 spot by Charles Dickens with The Christmas Carol. Definitely worth a read. It is on Amazon in print and Kindle, or you can get your personally notated and autographed copy from our Etsy store. All the links for that are in the description box below. And again, to prove that there's no story too strange to go into our true hauntings, personal stories of people's experiences with the supernatural, all things cryptid, Bigfoot, Sasquatch, UFO, aliens, abductions, I'm going to bring you this story from Judy. Okay, does Judy tell us where she's from? She doesn't. Here's what Judy writes. Hello, Kevin. I am a new subscriber, so I don't know if you have previously addressed the topic of time warps. So maybe I'm off topic, but would like to share this strange experience. And actually, Judy, we are about a week away from releasing. There was my voice doing that thing again. There's something in this air. I am going to have to get inside very soon. True Hauntings Volume 8 should be out in less than a week. And there are several stories of time warps in some of the previous releases, previous volumes. So here's Judy's story about a time warp. About 15 years ago, on a snowy night with 3 or 4 inches of fresh snow, I ordered a pizza to be delivered. This was the first time I had ordered for delivery, as we typically went to the pizza place. Anyway, I didn't anticipate what kind of vehicle to watch for, so I stood by the kitchen window with the check in my hand. In a few minutes, a white van pulled into my driveway, and I ran through the attached garage and opened the door to meet the delivery person. Listen to this. To my surprise, there was no van in the driveway and no tracks in the fresh snow. Puzzled, I went back to the kitchen, and in about 5 minutes, that white van pulled into my driveway and my pizza was delivered. I asked the driver if he had been here a few minutes earlier, and of course the answer was no. This experience has puzzled me for years. You may use my name if you wish to read this story on your channel, but I realize it does not pertain to your recent topics. Thanks so much, Judy. Judy, it absolutely pertains, because on this channel we discuss all things weird. So folks, there you have it. If you're in the path of this storm, be very careful. Listen, especially if you are older, especially if you are not in the best shape. Listen, this is what's so disgusting about this. Yes, I'm into fitness. Yes, I'm into health. I exercise daily. I eat healthy. I don't abuse substances. And I wish everybody else did the same. Here lately, I've been running with my son. For years, he couldn't keep up. Now, I've got about a 2-year window where I'm going to be able to keep up with him, and then I won't be able to keep up with him anymore. But we ran 3 miles yesterday, okay? And it takes us about 24 minutes because we run about 8-minute miles. It's not fast. It's doable. And I said to him, if everybody did this, if everybody just went out and walked fast or jogged for 20 minutes a day, 4 or 5 days a week, we would not have the obesity epidemic in our country that we have. And these people wouldn't have these health problems. But listen, with that put on the side, and hey, that's advice freely given. You can freely reject it. But listen, what busts my chops is so many of these folks who are over 65, who are in ill health, who are being called, as a lot of us are seeing it, did work hard for decades, for generations. They did contribute to society. They did pay taxes. They did pay into the Social Security system, for which they now absolutely deserve to be receiving that Social Security retirement check. What they don't deserve is to just be taken out as if they're a horse with a broken leg or a tracking dog that can no longer smell, as if they're nothing but chattel. That's disgusting. But folks, I fear that's what's going on. So if you fit in that group, you make sure that you don't get out and spend too much time in this weather. When you see the fog rolling in, you roll back inside. We'll see you for more next time.